Okay. So as we gather here in this next class for galactic history and understanding and work, we gather on the sacred ground of sovereignty. We are held within the vortex of the guardian circle, the teams of healing, of guidance, and of great safety. We bring into this day our curiosity, our commitment and tenacity, our joy in being together. And we know we are connected as one nodule in the great web of life, and all that we learn, do, and heal is effective not just for us, our families, and those we love, but into the greater web of all life flow. We are here gathered with and supported by intelligence collectives beyond our knowingness. We know of some, we know of, do not know of all, and we so appreciate being a part of this great collective, a collective of good for good. See, we are here gathered, we are held. We are here in integrity, committed to bringing good balance, wholeness of our star families into manifestation on the planet Earth. Our circle is set and open, and so it is. So let's go around and each of us put ourselves into the circle so we're present in that field. And I'm Sharon Raji Maynard, would be Island, Washington, a little overcast here. And really excited about the reframing into a new consciousness that will allow for a world different than we have ever experienced before. So I'm bringing new consciousness. And I pass to Angelique.
Hello, from the Netherlands, from Europe again. Beautiful seeing you. And I bring in grace and excitement. And I go to Emma.
Hello, everybody. Emma in Williamstown, Massachusetts on a cold and snowy day. You just never know what's going to happen next. And today was filled with stumbling blocks, which normally set me right off into overwhelm. But I decided to just stick with baby steps. And so today is about moving forward, around and over and under obstacles with baby steps. And I will call on Cinda.
I'm in Portland, Oregon, and just south of that. And I'd like to bring in nature's bounty or nature's beauty. And I'll call in Angelique.
I've already been, Cinda. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I know you were. Okay, I'll call on Arlie. Have you gone? Okay, there we go.
Thanks.
Well, it is well and truly cold here. It's a another gray, misty day. It rained for the last 3 days. But there's that snug feeling of a warm house and getting ready to snuggle in for the cold weather, the time of meditation and looking inward. So I want to bring in that quiet place where change can happen. And I will call on Deborah.
I'm in Sanford, North Carolina, and it's a beautiful spring day. It's sunny and it's cool. It had been really warm the other couple days ago, but it's cool today. And everything is bursting out. I think you can see the leaves grow if you sit in a chair for more than 5 minutes. And so I'd like to bring in new beginnings. And I will call on Avi.
I'm in Helena, Montana, and here it's a beautiful spring day as well. It's probably the nicest day we've had. And feeling is quite stressed and anxious, trying to get the house all packed up and put into storage and cleaned and all of that. But the feeling of there being this light at the end of the tunnel for a fresh start is very exciting. So I'd like to bring that kind of getting through an uncomfortable time to get to the other side. And I would like to call on, who has not gone? Christina, have you gone? Okay.
Thank you, Avi. Christina, Switzerland, Zurich, but my roots actually are Italian. Although I was born and bred in Switzerland, Italian blood runs through me, so wanted to share that with you. And I'm bringing into the circle overcoming procrastination. And I pass to Alexandra. Did she hear that?
Hello, this is Alexandra. Can you hear me today? Hello, this is Alexandra. Can you hear me today?
We
Yes.
can hear you really well,
can hear you.
Alexandra, and see you also.
Yes. Okay. I'm in the middle of a construction project at my house, so that's why I'm late. I live close to Sanford, right down the road from Dr. Deb Mangus here. And I would like to put into the circle harmony and order and focus. Thank you very much. I am complete.
Shall I call on Spirit?
Hi, everybody. I am Spirit. I am in Somerset, New Jersey. I went to one of my favorite plant-based diet restaurants yesterday that I don't get to go to, and I actually got to have real dessert. And I just ate a big chocolate chip cookie and a glass of oat milk. And I don't know why I just feel so peaceful and tired right now. Like, I think I'm just going to close my eyes for this class and just take in all the energy. I'm going to bring in peace and tranquility for today. And I am complete. Did everybody go? Sharon and Tara, I think. I call on Tara. Thank you.
All right, so I'm up in Phoenix, Arizona, and the weather's gorgeous as always. So, and also because it's spring, I feel like everyone gets a push to be very productive. So I bring in productivity and sunshine today. And is anyone else missing? Okay, Gail, you're next.
Hello, I am Gail Kaplan. I am in Magnolia, New Jersey. And there is a beautiful magnolia tree blooming right outside the back door, and it smells heavenly.
Wow.
And I am bringing peace to the circle, and I call in Sharon Alexander.
Thank you, Gail. Hello, everyone. Great to be back together. In Colorado, we are moving out of a snowstorm toward warm spring weather, still a chill in the air, but each day here over the next few days should warm up, which is great. And I love the change of seasons. And so I bring today the energies of joy and surrender. And I think that's everyone. Is that right?
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right. So here we have in our circle, in addition to what you each bring, new consciousness, grace and excitement, baby steps in overcoming obstacles, nature's beauty and bounty, that snug warmth, time for inner place of change, new beginnings, the fresh start and the light shows at the end of the tunnel, harmony, order and focus, peace and tranquility, productivity, peace, joy, and surrender. So that's what we're building our fire. That is our fire for the day. So I'm going to first open like we usually do. If there's anything that's come up, any questions, experiences, anything from the last that feels incomplete or questions around of the material up until now. And I can see Deborah with her hand up. So Deborah.
So as I understand it, the chips are now out of all of us. So we can have continuous connection to divine family. But the outsider's influence is still around us. And depending on the person and how ingrained over eons of time that is, they're ingrained. So I guess my question is, so with all of this stuff that's happening, especially all these shootings in the past week, it's like, are the outsiders speaking louder and more often to people who are listening? Or, so it's easier to connect to divinity and stay connected. But if you're caught in the outsiders, what does it take to shift that part? Or is it that they have to speak louder so that they hear them? I don't understand that part and how to get rid of, I mean, I know how to get rid of it from me, but in terms of the world, how to, and it comes off me, it comes off them. But sort of what's going on in that sense.
Thank you, Deborah. The chip existed in the third world. So we felt the impact of it, but we didn't carry the chip within our bodysuit. We carried the impact because we were energetically connected to the third world. And every time the chip slipped in and kind of lessened our energy and threw us into chaos, that's the chip that's been removed. What happened as we were in those imbalances, the choices we made, the stories we made up, everything that we did from that point on, that we created from that point on, is what we're going to be addressing. So the chip is gone. It's not going to be, so yes, being able to stay connected is easier, but all the contaminated thoughts, processes, impact, etc., in addition to the outsiders, is also part of that toxicity that we have, that our life flow extends through, I should say through, and we're in the process of securing the channel and also clearing up our own, right? And the outsiders. So why more shootings? Why all these shootings all of a sudden? That's a good question. And so what I would do when I have questions like that is I would go to my team and say, from your perspective, what are all these shootings? Am I frozen for the rest of you? Alexandra, it's you, your band, I think. Your bandwidth. So that, I mean, we could make it up. I could make something up. I don't know that it would be accurate. The best thing to do would be to say, this is how I would interpret it just from what I know. This earth is about manifesting energy into forms that choices can be made around. The law of manifestation. Majorly, it was made so that we could identify outsider energies and have it removed. So what it's saying to me is that outsider energy is still present, right? Because our divine families are not going to create shootings as a solution. So it's coming clearly from outside agendas, outside presence, outsiders' influence. So for me, what they're trying to do, what are they trying to hold on fast? That's more of a mute point as far as for me. What I would do is go, excuse me, back to the basics. They are still here and they are still manifesting into forms of violence or whatever. And therefore, Guardian Circle, the entire planet, United States, areas, I mean, it just says to me, up my game of calling for the removal across the board and specific. Now, if I want to know, because we can, I mean, you can say, I could say to my team, what triggered this situation? Where did that come from? And we do have a circle under this Sacred Ground Collective group. We have a circle called Time Travelers that meet every Wednesday morning. And one of the things that we began was to identify a situation that brought our notice, like gun shooting. And we would come into the circle and we would ask, each of us would ask our team in a meditative place to take us back. Where did it begin? Where was that concept inserted? Where was that pattern inserted? So we would go back to remove patterns that allowed it to be. And so that's another way, because once we know, okay, there was an idea inserted that's showing up as guns in personal lives, and it was inserted, 500 years ago. I don't want to know that it was just inserted 500 years ago. I want to know it was inserted 500 years ago. Okay. Guardian Circle, PTO, remove the insertion. That would be a reason that would be important for me to say, why is it happening? So that I could go back wherever I needed to go and remove the seed or the cause that is manifesting in shootings. In the meantime, PTO, you guys take care of it and remove remove it, turning it over to spirit. Does that answer your question, Deborah? Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Sharon.
I was going to be quiet and just listen, but I think my question dovetails nicely with what you just explained. And I have sort of a silly question. I first want to say that the PTO, I am finding the PTO to be delightful. Like, I'm so glad to have learned about that. So thank you. And I wonder about its application. So the example I'm bringing up is the other night I chose to watch a movie, like a, whatever they're called, current movie. It's called News of the World. And I thought, oh, that might have some redeeming value. It's set in Texas around the time of the Civil War, when they're moving the Indians out. They're working with slaves. Women, are property, I guess. And while I typically don't like to watch violence, I do better with the Western setting. I grew up in that. But I found myself just PTO deep six, all of like the source of all the pain in the movie for people. And it felt good. It felt empowering and uplifting. Is that appropriate in a movie, a fiction story kind of thing?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Power of imagination is what you're talking about here. You know, the purpose of the earth is that patterns be made visible. Patterns were made visible in that movie.
Yeah.
Patterns are made visible in song, and they're made visible in poetry. They're made visible in our bodies. They're made visible in many ways. And when the pattern is seen, the choice is made. That's the law of personal choice. The choice is made. Do they stay, or do the patterns stay, or do they not stay? And so absolutely appropriate. Yeah.
Thank you. I felt that I could, not that I want to tolerate that stuff, but in the past I'm super sensitive, and it's really hard for me. And so it was just such a great tool that allowed me to see the art, I guess, see the bigger picture. I don't know. So thank you. Okay. I am complete.
Yeah, good. Any other questions? So I'm going to just repeat, this is not just a course for information, although it is that. It really is a course for information and action, and information and healing, and information and action, you know. And so we're going to go back, and we're going to do a reality statement, basically from what we did last week. So just kind of sit quietly, and I'm going to take you through the reality statement and the reality shift. Okay. So just close your eyes, and you are here at the first dimension, the very slowest frequency region of those 8 worlds, the octaves, which include 64 regions of energy speed. You are here, and you are holding a point, woven within the boundaries of my divine star family. Our sensitivity systems that detect, identify, neutralize, and remove all domination types. Removes those energies of any frequency or form from my/our space in all 64 regions of my life flow. My boundaries have a sensitivity system that detects, identifies, neutralizes, and removes all domination energies of any frequency or form in my entire 64 regions of life flow. I move the consciousness of that entire 64 regions that is our life flow into that reality. And ask that my PTO and tag healing teams deep six anything that is, has, or would keep that from being the total experience in those 64 dimensions. I call for my design team to evaluate my energetic systems here on the planet within this physical bodysuit. And if necessary, design an upgraded system for those sensitive boundaries. And download the codes into the first dimensional field, my root chakra, my roots into the earth, so she's included. Download those codes and place the program in the 5th dimensional landscape of life plans for this incarnation. I claim, design, anchor, and activate this reality in behalf of my entire divine star family. And so it is. Just in your imagination, in whatever way you might find or feel that immense cone around you with boundaries that bring greater clarity, greater security. The colors might brighten. The tones that you hear or sense might be more balanced and on key. And then I'm going to have you open your eyes, and we're going to do a different kind of brain balance because we're going to anchor it into our brains. And this is called a version called the Cook's Hookup, again from educational kinesiology. So you're going to cross your ankles. You can sit and do this. Then you're going to cross your hands this way and interlace your fingers. Roll that up under your chin. Place your tongue at the roof of your mouth. All of these are connection points. All of those boundaries are in place for your entire galactic family, right down to this bodysuit. And sit in that space as you rotate, close your eyes and rotate your eyes clockwise 4 times, and rotate your eyes again counterclockwise 4 times. Cook's Hookup. That's one example of a model of integrated work. We used words, we used imagination, and we used feelings or sensings, and we used a physical process. In the ancient mystery schools, they were very clear that as you learn things, you include, you don't just learn spiritual stuff and you don't just learn mathematics. You weave together. And in the tag healing, we just call it an integrated protocol. So we're going to go back to the third world. And we're going to imagine ourselves there at the third world. And we're in our groups. And we have a sense that we're looking out over a path, a journey, an extension, if you will, that has already been taken. And we're coming from the future. We're going back to the third world. We've made some corrections. But there's a journey, energy extension that's already been taken from those original woundedness. So we are going to stand back and acknowledge that the journey is still crippled. There's still things in the energy field from the third world on that is not in balance. There's still things that happen that we maybe don't even know of yet that need to be looked at. And it's like having a multitude of children around you, and all of those children, all of those different pieces wanting to come into harmony or saying me. They all want and need to be corrected. And they're going to keep saying me, 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 until they're heard and helped. As it happens on the planet the same way. So what we're going to do is stand and we're going to say to that extensive field from the third world right down to where Gaia begins. We're going to say to our spiritual team, freeze frame those situations. They don't have to be active. They don't have to be being triggered. They don't have to be expanding. We've gotten the message. There are problems there. And we're going to be addressing those problems. In the meantime, everyone be calm. Freeze frame so that those wounds don't continue to expand. We don't need them expanding. We know they're there. We're going to go and we're going to help them. Freeze frame the field. So everything calms down. Everyone knows they're going to be heard. And now I'm going to tell you some of the things that we did and that happened after the third world. So with the third world, again, before it was corrected, the chip disconnecting everybody, the broadcasting you're not enough, the concept somebody's got to fix me because I can't, the invasion of the outsiders starting to take ownership, that began to happen. So the chip, their conflict, because we tried to keep them out, and that, just like here on this planet, conflict is not the answer. It's not the answer up there either. In the conflict, there was wounds that happened within our families. There are ownership marks or handcuffs that some of our groups were attached to. There was an expansion of we're not enough that kept going on, and the disconnect. Through it all, various groups within our families tried various things. Okay, and it's those choices, contracts, experiences that we're going to talk about today. Okay. So one of the things that happened is in groups, let's say 10 million in this collective, saw that conflict is not the answer. We were already weakened by the chip. We were already weakened by the broadcasting you're not enough. And we were definitely already weakened because some of our energy was being sucked away. So all of that was an impact. So, and we've referred to this before, I think. So what we decided to do is shut down our energy flow in order to call for help. And I just call them sacred contracts. So if a group had chosen to be experiencing green, for example, that particular type of experience, when they shut down to be 10% clear green, 90% muddy green, they're just signaling that, hey, we got a big problem in this village. On the planet, what that would be, because again, the colors I use to translate energy into our world in the tag work, green would say love doesn't work. I'm not enough. It would be a choice of I'm not enough. It would be a choice of I am unloved. But it would be held in place by the contract in one of those other worlds. So until those other worlds were released from their contract in that group, you as an individual would still keep having experiences that would say to you, I'm not loved, I'm not lovable, love doesn't work. If that was the frequency you were a part of shutting down. But for some, it was different frequencies. For some, it might have been yellow. And so what that would translate down on the planet would be like physical illness, clearer than physical illness, more and more physical things happening. You see? So today going after sacred contracts with the same kind of intensity we would after the third world creations, one of the things we're going to do. So that's one of the components within the worlds after the third world. Another thing that happened, and they're showing up more and more for whatever reason. I've known about it. We've done some work around it, but they're showing up a little bit more lately. And so we're going to go after that really majorly, is that some of our groups, so here's a 5 million group, captured by the outsiders and literally taken into their region, kidnapped into their region of negativity. Their regions, their worlds function more on what we would call a low, really low frequency, or a really negative frequency. It's just a very slow frequency because they're using other people's energy. So those family members of our families, groups within our families that were kidnapped and taken into their regions, have been in their regions still connected, you see, to the original family. So there's that bite. Remember, we've talked about they're experiencing directly kidnapping. But because they're energetically connected to a galactic family, the galactic family is experiencing vicariously kidnapping, hopelessness, exhaustion, devastation, aloneness. What would they be like? Kidnap groups. The woundedness, calling for the healing of the woundedness within those groups. So that's what we're going to go after. We got the third world corrected. We got the chip removed. We got the broadcasting ended. And we got the Tesla Tower broadcasting divine family, right? We've got secure boundaries in place. So we got the third world corrected. We got a good foundation to stand on. All this we're saying, freeze frame it, let it be right now, but we're going to go after that. Now, before we do that, we're going to take a break. But one of the things that I want to share with you and suggest you consider, by about 2001, the third world had been corrected initially. Okay. Now, the third world is huge. It's extensive. I mean, that's a lot. There's a lot. And it was very far from Earth frequency. And there was a huge amount of discord when we first started working on those other worlds. Huge amount of discord, chaos, toxicity in worlds 4, 5, 6, and 7. So even though in 2001 here on the planet, we had affirmed correction of the third, those frequencies were still, we were having to pull them down and add in the meantime, what's in their way. So it's not instant because the frequencies were already very contaminated. The outsiders were still present, etc. But in 2000, 2001, I was teaching in about 3 or 4 different states, and I would fly. And what my team said, what we want you to begin doing is drive. Drive from Utah to Boise, drive from Boise to Washington, drive from Washington to California, drive. And I was excited to do that. I think what happens when there's a calling, when there's an assignment you're given, you have the energy, the support, the doors opening to make it happen. Would I want to do that now? Could I even conceive of wanting to do it now? Not on your life, but it was like, I loved it. It was really pretty nice. But the reason they had me do it is because I was on the planet. I was driving by forests, oceans, fields, power lines, clouds. You get the idea? And everywhere I went, at least once a day, they would say, okay, ask for that element of nature to broadcast. The third world is corrected. Okay. Oceans, stones, mountains, trees, plants, electrical lines. You know those big power lines that nobody wants to live under? They had me put it in them. So where could you put that concept into some element of Mother Earth for that broadcasting to expand here at our day and time? And it was just like the third world, it was just a declaration. The third world's corrected. Actually, it was the third world's corrected. The 13th are restored. The third world is corrected, and the 13th is restored. So we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll be back. And so I'll see you at, let's say 55 before the hour. That's a little bit more than 5 minutes. 55 before the hour. Is that right? Okay, see you then. Okay. So I'm going to share the impact of sacred contracts in the various vibrational ranges. So, right, I don't have a slide for that, only in my scanning machine, and it's not really very pretty. So I'm just going to have you write it down, and I'll create a better slide, a better PDF. So those who were experiencing the red ray, in clarity, it's balance and creativity when it's in balance. But when it's muddy or turned down, which would make it added chaos, it's fear and anger. The orange frequency, when it's healthy and balanced, is like faith and knowingness, that inner sensitivity, faith and knowingness. But when it becomes imbalanced or muddy, you have powerlessness or manipulation. Those experiencing yellow, and this is not family groups, by the way. This is just experiences chosen within family groups as they extended from home. So it could, it can be, it's not about the family group itself. And so yellow in its clarity is empowerment, clarity. That's why I call it a leadership. People say, follow that person. That person knows something. So empowerment or leadership, clarity. But when it's muddy and unbalanced, it will bring physical pain. The green ray is a ray of like the ability to see the bigger picture, because curiosity, there's no one thing that's predominant. So some would call it unconditional. And when it's unbalanced, no one loves me, I'm lonely, love doesn't work. And the blue ray is that peace or emotional balance. And when it's in chaos, it is emotional pain. It could even be in that range of depression. The next hue, there's two more. The next hue is indigo, and that's an enthusiasm, kind of an excitement and enthusiasm. And when it's out of balance, it's a real sense of like I am disconnected from source. My actual life flow is like non-existent. And then the last one is the violet hue. And that has, that is a quality of commitment, of integrity. Muddy, the chaos would be deceit or dishonesty, is what the experience would be. So I want to have you take just a couple of minutes, and then we're going to go into a group and just consider what it is you might be noticing either within yourself or within your world, which is coming from your inner self. If it's in your world, it's in your energy field. So something you've noticed that's either some of those imbalances or swings between imbalance. What are you noticing? How does that relate to you personally, or what you're noticing in the world, as well as what in the world have you noticed that is that old vibration, not enough, nothing will change, I have to stay small, I don't know, or being just tuned out, turn off. And I'll put those in the chat because I'm going to give you a couple minutes to, how does that relate to you or what you're seeing in your world? And then we're going to go into small groups so you can kind of talk about that with each other. What in your world are you noticing around any of this, which really has its beginning in the galactic worlds? Okay.
So Sharon, we're asking ourselves, of these 7, we're asking ourselves, where do we currently fall within them?
What are you noticing? Is there anything that you're noticing around any of those of the color range that you took notes on, or of those concepts I posted in the chat? What are you currently noticing in your world, in your life, or in the world, your more your personal world than the greater world? Guys, about 30 more seconds. Okay, we're going to go into breakout rooms, and it's in the conversation that you know, this isn't going in and say, you don't need to go like, here's my list. Like that might be a beginning point. But here, here's what I'm thinking, or here's what's on the tip of my mind, and allowing yourself to be like in conversation with each other. Like, oh, because what it is that's being drawn to your attention just because of our discussion is what is valuable about being together. That we have a place where we can start allowing ourselves to notice or to see more than we've seen before and relate it to ourselves, and then try on some new skills or even some old skills to strengthen the muscle of change and clarity. So there'll be either 2 or 3 in a room. Let's see what I'm going to do here. Wait just a minute. I think we'll put 2 per room. And just a minute. And then and in the dialogue, then just what comes up even in the dialogue that may not have come up in your own individual thinking process. What patterns, what are they, etc. And we're going to just be in there probably about, let's see, about 8 minutes. That's going to give you a lot of time to talk, to think, to share. And if you have time to even maybe talk even more beyond what this particular assignment is, which is great. In that conversation, it's what emerges that brings value out. And that doesn't happen in this kind of, in me telling you and me talking to you. It's not the same, as you well know. So we're going to be in the rooms about 8 minutes. If you want to time it between the 2 of you, that's 4 minutes each. Or if you just want to dialogue back and forth, you guys, whatever feels right for you to do. But what do you notice that might be a stream from the galactics that we've already talked about? There will be a 1-minute warning, and then you'll be brought back into the main group. So you won't have to push buttons. You don't have to push buttons either way, and you can if you want to. So here goes the rooms, and I will see you back in about 8 minutes. Any questions before we start? Alex, was that you trying to speak? Oh, she's probably talking to her worker. Okay. Okay, here goes the rooms. I'm trusting that Alex will be able to participate. I hope so, Alex.